I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about, are they avoidant or just not interested? This is a tricky one.
This is a very difficult one.
It is. There are no easy answers on this one, but we're going to be talking about this and hopefully it'll give you some insight on your situation. Obviously, we talk a lot about attachment styles, and when you can understand attachment styles and how your partner or the people you're dating act in a relationship, you can navigate them easier and kind of know what their needs are, understand your own needs, and be able to communicate those things in a healthy way without maybe lashing out, losing emotional self-control, and all the things that come with being anxious in a situation. So, how do you tell if somebody is avoidant or if they're distant because they're busy or something's going on in their life, or they're just not interested or interested in a relationship with you?
Well, to start off, it can be a blend of things. But first, we're going to look at a few things and make a few things clear. And that is that for the avoidant attachment style, it is specifically the closeness and intimacy that causes discomfort. And so that is different from just somebody not being interested, because when somebody's not interested, the closeness is not so much of the issue as it is for the avoidant. And also with the avoidant attachment style, it's also more confusing because you have to consider that they do tend to come on strong in the beginning.
Yes, we see this often because for them, they've probably had their needs neglected their entire life. And so they have this yearning, they yearn. It reminds me of a Seinfeld episode.
Yearn.
They yearn. Do you ever yearn? Yes, they yearn for an intimate desire and connection, because I believe we are wired that way. And so when we feel that connection, we feel all these chemicals in our brain and it feels great. We feel amazing. We feel alive, and that feels so exciting. And so when we have this, when we're talking to somebody new, it's a great feeling.
Exactly. And once those feelings and those chemicals start to wear down, which is normally, several months into the relationship, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
It is normally around that time that that true attachment starts to form, where you start letting go of some of those barriers of trying to impress your partner. You start becoming more comfortable with them and really being vulnerable with them. And that's when that true attachment comes in. And at that point, that's when the person with the more avoidant attachment style begins to freak out, because that love and intimacy and closeness is scary for them, or uncomfortable, unfamiliar. We have plenty of other videos on avoidant attachment style and what love feels like for them.
Yep.
But if they were just not interested, it's very likely that they would have broken things off before this point, because what is the point of continuing to date somebody if you're not interested in them, unless it's for, ulterior motives like wanting sex, or if they're getting any type of benefit from the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. All those things are tough to decipher, especially if there's not a lot of communication going on, right? It could be a real struggle to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's helpful to consider how well you know this person, right? Like, did you know them in a different setting? Maybe you worked with them. Maybe you knew them through friends. And that could be helpful, that you could take a look at how they've acted in those other relationships. It gives you something to consider.
Yeah.
Think of the quality of the connection that you have with this person. How thoughtful and considerate are they? Are they lying to you, or are they hiding things? Are they hiding things from you? Those are other things that you could look at with their behavior. one thing that's always shocking is that the avoidant will a lot of times break up with you even when things are going well.
Yes. Yep.
And, you know, this took me a while to have this aha moment. I remember having this talk with Margaret years ago, and she kept trying to say this to me, and I was like, not quite getting, like, why would they do it when it's... Because, you know, it's an overwhelming feeling for them, and they've not really had many of those relationships where they could trust somebody or feel connected to somebody and not have a lot of negative things go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And what you also see is when a certain event triggers their avoidance. So this might be if you take your partner to a wedding as your wedding date, or if there's some type of highly emotional vacation that you go on or extended vacation you go on together.
We actually see a lot of breakups around vacations.
Yes, yep. And so at that moment, that's when those barriers start to come down, the vulnerability shows up. The person with the more avoidant attachment style starts to feel trapped, starts to feel closed in, and that's when they're more likely to plan their escape route and leave the relationship rather than just not being interested.
And this is why we tell you guys you have to do the work. Because when you truly have done the work and you really get centered within yourself, when they start to ask for space, you don't spiral out of control, which is likely what you did after the breakup. And I know because I've been there before, right? It's a horrible feeling. You're just trying to repair it, but you just wind up spiraling and going out of control, blowing up their phone, driving past their house, stopping at their work, calling their friends and family, all of those things. But if you really work on yourself and get centered, that when you're dating the avoidant, you won't be as likely to do those things and push them away further. So think about that when you're thinking about making it try and work with somebody who's more avoidant in their relationships.
Yeah, it's really important to be aware of how your own behaviors do impact the relationship dynamics. Another thing to look at is how much they're investing in you. So those with more avoidant attachment styles show care in a different way. They may be more practical in the way they show care. They might be doing errands for you, maybe cooking for you, doing more acts of service type of behaviors. So the reason why I bring this up is because many times in early childhood, their caregivers may have shown love in those practical ways rather than being emotionally available. And so that translates into their adulthood as giving love in this way. And so you do want to pay attention as to how that love is given to you in the relationship, and that can signify whether they are more interested or if it's more of an attachment style issue.
So like an investment, like a financial, like taking you someplace nice or something like that.
Right.
It shows an investment as
Exactly.
opposed to not being interested, yeah.
Right. And so another sign that they are just not interested, this is going to look more like somebody not initiating text messages and you're always the one putting in effort. Sadly, people are not so great with communication, and that's a thing that happens. So people might be prone to ghosting or not responding to texts, or the replies get shorter, one-word messages. So this is a very disappointing way to find out that the other person is not interested. It's much better for the person to be direct, but that doesn't always happen. So you might find that other person fading out.
Yep. One thing that I've seen is that when somebody starts dating you from the beginning, they're like, I'm not interested in anything serious. And when they tell you that, you don't want to ignore it. Even though they may start acting interested and showing you some behavior that is, if they're telling you from the get-go, you don't want to ignore that. Please pay close attention to that.
Yeah. It's really important that you take people for their word and trust that, you know, what they're saying, they mean. So it's also not either or. It's not they are avoidant or they're just not interested. It could be they're not interested because they are avoidant. So that's something that you want to consider in all of this.
Yeah.
We were just chatting before we were filming, and we both came to the consensus of it is a lot less likely for an avoidant person to be interested in others and to really be interested in that love and affection and that care. Not that they don't crave it existentially and as a human being, but they're less likely to put themselves out there. Because I think on some level, it might feel like putting yourself out there to get hurt. So that is something to think about when considering which it is. It could be both.
Yeah. This is, like we said, not an easy one to figure out because it can be confusing and complicated.
Right.
Right.
And you also want to ask yourself, does it matter? Does it matter if they are avoidant, or does it matter if they're just not interested? At the end of the day, if you're not feeling like your needs are getting met, if you feel emotionally neglected by this person, it is your decision whether you want to continue that relationship or not. And so it doesn't really matter so much if they're interested or just avoidant.
Yep.
It might be important to get an idea of what the other person is like and to see if that relationship could continue or if your ex is avoidant. But in terms of your decision making and moving forward, we want to bring that focus back onto you, what you can do, what you do have control over, and whether you do want to pursue that relationship, knowing that that person is just not putting in that effort.
That is such a great point, and I really hope you think about it because it's so true. I mean, ultimately, you want to be happy, and if you're dating somebody that is either avoidant or uninterested, does it make a difference if you're unhappy? I mean, we want you to be happy, and we tell you guys this all the time, either to try and repair it with somebody or to find somebody new. We want you to have happy, great relationships. But yeah, at the end of the day, it kind of boils down to you being happy. Right? So you want to think about that. I mean, I know you're going to think about them and what they've been through and who they are. But you also want to look at where this is going. Are they willing to get help for their issues? If so, you can reconsider. Or maybe they'll be likely to reconsider if they realize that, there's something going on within them, a destructive pattern, and they want to fix it. What kind of attachment issues are they having, and what are they doing to improve those things? Sadly, and it's not fair, we wind up with issues because of how we're treated in our childhood. And it's not right. It sucks.
Yep.
Quite frankly. It's not fair that something that happened to you when you were 6 months old still affects you when you're 35. But we have to deal with it. And if you're an adult, you deal with your problems, you look to improve them, and then you have healthier relationships.
Yeah, and there does come a point where someone's lack of engaging in the relationship or lack of that emotional connection, it becomes unattractive.
Yeah.
You get to that point where once you see that they're not putting in the effort, it doesn't excite you about the relationship. It feels more like work and kind of like pulling teeth. And so really take care of yourself and think about the impact that this relationship has on you.
Absolutely. When you're dating or you're in a relationship, it's easy to get caught up in who they are, what are their needs, am I making them happy, and forget about yourself and the things that you need or will make you happy in a relationship. And the more you work on your self-worth and your self-esteem, the more you're going to realize that, okay, you're going to come across people that have attachment issues and they don't want to work at it. And it's healthy for you to say, at least to yourself, you don't have to necessarily tell them, okay, I really cared about this person, I valued them, but I love myself and respect myself enough to say enough is enough. I have to go find somebody who will treat me the way I deserve to be treated.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so hopefully you found this video helpful. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can just go to my website, askcraig.net, and sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria will continue to train with us.
I look forward to coaching with you guys.
Absolutely. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon. To get my help personally, go to askcraig.net and click on Schedule Coaching and choose the option that works best for you. I do email coaching or Skype. To schedule a coaching with Margaret, click on Margaret on the top of the page and order a Skype with her. For the Knowledge Creative Healing course, click on the link at the top of the page and click Get Started Now.